Good morning, Saratake Saranini Meka. Good morning, Karake Saranini Meka. So after yesterday's full moon and the eclipse, I just feel like super chill. So I hope everybody's like feeling the same way or similar. And if you're not, that's totally okay. So today, before I go into it, let's see what the messages flow. I want to share this collective card, the Devil. So every Monday I take a collective card and I put it in my Telegram group, which is free to join if you like to do that. And so this is the card for this week, the Devil. So what this represents, it's any of your actions that are really not really contributing to your health. Yeah. So anything that is in excess, so we tend to see these patterns as whether it's, for example, right? Like if you drink alcohol, you do drugs and things like that. But in reality, it could also be something that for you, it seems very healthy, but you're overdoing it. So like the super over excess, like working out, like you work out like crazy and you're not giving your body rest, is the same thing. If you're totally in your head about like, if I eat this, it's gonna really harm myself, like constantly overthinking about what you're gonna eat, that also is such an excess. So it's not just like something that we tend to see as negative, but something that could also be positive, that you're doing it into the excess. And so this card in the collective is telling us, so what are the solutions that are in your mind that have constructed a wall around you in a way. And at the same time, in this card right here, the Devil, again, that it doesn't just represent what we tend to see as negative, but positive in excess, okay, that just overwhelms your being and your head because of the constant overthinking of it. But it's also telling you, so if there is something in your life that you are not seeing in a way correctly with the superhuman vision, so then can you look at a different perspective, okay? Can you look at a different perspective? Can you go through a different area so then you can actually see the walls that you created around yourself? And then if you're feeling trapped, if you're feeling tricked, like, okay, so beginning to see that as like, why are you feeling this way? Because this is something that you're actually seeing as it is, or it is something that the mind is telling you that it is that way. So creating an illusion, okay? Creating an illusion because of the way that you're feeling at the moment of you have been feeling. And this could also be, because sometimes when we are releasing a lot of things and we're coming back into balance, on those releases parts can also come up something that will make up some kind of illusion in the mind. But again, the power is in the mind to see this differently, okay? To see this as an empowerment rather than as a punishment or something that you did wrong or that you're just not good enough or whatever, okay? So the other thing about this card, the Devil, is to pay attention. Is to pay attention, okay? So are you so used to of the shackles, of this like chains that are tying you in some kind of reality? Oh, and that because of that usedness, that you're so used to this that you're not willing to see how to get out of it out of fear. So are you so used to that you're just too fearful to look at a different perspective? And if you are, doing an inquiry about this, why? Why do you believe that you have to stay in the same situation? Why do you believe that you have to continuously believe that illusion created in your mind or within your system in order to feel some kind of safety? Okay, so this is like something really important because now, with all the eclipses that just happened, of course, the energies doesn't just kind of like dissolve because like the eclipse is over, but there's ripple effects here, right? And so this card right here as a collective is telling us that we do have the power. We do have the power to change something. So you do have the power to change it. So again, especially if you have been feeling trapped and if you have been feeling tricked, okay? And this is, we're going to go into you like a message about the sensations, energetically speaking, from your system, okay? So from here, you know, in your own system, the sensation of feeling trapped or tricked can come from something that happened in your childhood, but at the same time, something that's just bursting and becoming alive, coming back online, okay? So a part of you that is like, okay, it's been kind of like incubating, if you will, for like a really long time, or maybe just a little bit, just really depends. Sometimes time is just, you know. So in here, you know, there is this pulsation of life, because this is, imagine that in the center of your being, you know, there's this, all these magical forces coming through. And then as you are releasing or coming back into integration, into your balance state, because of all the energies that have been happening in your own work, you know, it's opening up the channel for that which has been incubating to come through. So this energy that has been incubating could also feel a little trapped, you know. For example, you know, when we're inside the womb, right, it's not that we really feel trapped, but in a way we kind of are, you know, we kind of are there until we're ready to come out, and then we come into this vast world. So something like that can also happen in your system. So it's not just like, it's not just a sensation that is unreal in a way, but also you have to be mindful of how you feel into this energy. Because if you're feeling into this energy when you are like so low, and when you already have this kind of victim mentality activated, then of course the system, you know, that part of you that really likes to feel safe, you know, it much easily will point fingers at somebody else, you know, rather than saying like, oh, it's something inside of me, something that is coming back online, like a rebirth process, you guys, a rebirth process, okay? So this is not something that is like pushing you down. Okay, so we gotta shift like the way that you see things, your perspective, right? So anything that tends to look as negative in our society is actually a point of empowerment. So this card right here, the devil, you know, it's just something to be mindful of. Okay, where are you being in excess in your life? Where are you overdoing things in your life that, again, not necessarily are normally seen as negative, but also as positive, but over super exaggerating that, because that exhausts your own energy. You're using too much energy. An example that I'm seeing here right now is, you know, like about health, right? So a lot of people tend to just be like this with their diet, right? So like, okay, I just have to eat this and I just have to eat this. And like the mind is like, or maybe the body, you know, because it's used to something different, or just because he just wants to enjoy being a human. It's like, but I want to eat this. But because in this thing of going like, I can't eat that, you know, I have to eat this way, it just brings too much stress in the body, because perhaps the body just needs a juice, you know, and then you have said no to juice or something very similar, or even like a piece of chocolate, you know, like anything that is imbalanced can be actually healthy for your being. Everything that is overindulgence, that is what this card is talking about. And it's saying, you know, pay attention to that, because then you're harming yourself and you're using way too much energy that you can be using for creating anything that you really have been desiring to create, or even taking care of yourself, you know. So this is what this card is saying about balance. But again, you know, like whenever like there's a tendency to see the devil is like, oh shit, you know, like this is something really bad. But like, let's get out of like good and bad. Let's look at things as how they are, as neutral. You know, this is what I really love, the German language, even though I don't speak German. There's also a neutral, like, genre, you know, like a neutral, there's not just female and male, but female, male, neutral, right? So let's look at things from the neutral perspective. How is this card perceived by you, you know? If it's perceived in this way of awareness, in the way of like, oh, maybe I have been doing too much of this. I've been doing too much exercise, so I've actually been eating just too much of this kind of foods that are like bad for me. So then how can I bring that into balance now with all the energies of the eclipses that have been going through, you know, and the energies of Scorpio. Holy smokes, I love Scorpio, by the way. it's my rising, so I really love Scorpio. With these energies of Scorpio, they like tend to be just like the investigator, you know, and really the magician. It's like, okay, how can I alchemize that energy and use that to empower me rather than going this way? And so if you like shift the vision and see how you can actually access your own being from a different point of entrance, then it will be much easier than blaming yourself for something. Okay, this card is also regarding towards a situation in your life, if this applies to you. You know, if there's something that a situation that you feel trapped or tricked, or even a relationship, it doesn't have to be romantic, you know, that you just feel like that you're just trapped. Okay, and now here's the other point. Use another entry point, right? Use another entry point to see if it's actually something that is being mirrored to you, because a lot of times it is going back into the part of you that is being rebirthed in all of us, because of this awesome energies of the eclipses. You know, something has been awakened, and so that as it's coming through, it might feel that it's leaving that trick part or the trapped version of itself to fully be present in this reality. So if you look at it from that perspective, it's super duper empowering, you know, so like beginning to see things differently. And from there, you can just be like, okay, cool. This is awesome. This is awesome, rather than being like, oh shit, why am I doing this to myself? So you see the difference of the two energies, right? You're almost punishing yourself by saying like, why did I do this to myself again? Rather than being like, okay, cool. If I look at it from this perspective, now this old version of myself has been guiding me and pointing me to move around and enter for a different point, so then I can see this as empowerment rather as something to take my power away, right? So the same thing, you know, look at conditions in your life where you have been giving your power away, whether to others or a situation or even work, you know, and so bring it back into you. And how do you do that? By being honest, you know, by being honest with yourself about this kind of situations, whether it's work, whether it's a relationship, whether it's like your home environment, whether it's with yourself. Okay, so that's the most important one, by the way. So just being honest of how you're treating yourself, how you're treating others, and then see how you can improve from that. Because again, you know, like this energies are circulating that is just like, is divine. Honestly, you guys, it's just like a funnel just coming in like and it's showering with so many things, right? So like imagine all these codes, right? All these light codes coming in right through this like beautiful funnel that is like on top of the head. And so imagine all these light codes coming in, and this light codes root into your system, right? So you gotta welcome them, and by welcome, then you gotta make space, right? And so making space as they're coming in, it's just like letting go of things that no longer resonate with you. And one of those things, in order to do those things, is to be honest. You know, what are things that are not resonating with you, and how can you let them go? So then these cycles can actually root into your system. Because what happens is that, of course, they do root into your system, yeah, but they could be quicker or they could be a little slower. So as these ones are coming in, there's like a transition periods, if you will, okay, when they're like in the process of rooting into your system. And if there's one belief, one small tiny belief that you're not good enough to receive these light codes, then they're kind of going into a slower version of like rooting, and they're going into like this pause too. So they're waiting, you know, they're waiting until the system actually goes into like, yeah, I do believe that I'm worthy for this, okay? And this is just like one tiny little layer on top, because of course the core center of you, your divinity says, yes, I am worthy. But then here comes the mind, when like we give it too much attention, you know, and then we just believe all these illusions about the mind, or illusions about society, if you will, right? Like taking into things that are not yours, that you don't believe in, that are part of this top little layer. And so in this layer is when it says, you know, like, okay, well, do I still believe what society has been telling me to believe, or do I believe into what I actually believe within my system? Okay, so here is like a little like, how do you call this in English? Like tug of war, right? So when you are really tuned in into yourself, okay, which of course is all of us, but at times as having this human experience, we can be pulled into a little bit of what really society, if like part of the collective still believes, and at times we go into ourselves, right? And we must really find the middle here, knowing, yes, I'm having a human experience. Yes, at times I will go this way, but I know that regardless, I still trust that I'm worthy of everything. I still trust that the energy of life that makes all this happen is also me. Therefore, I can make anything that I desire happen from the space of my heart that is good for myself and others. So when you tap into that, then the light codes are coming in. It's just much easier to just like floop, root into you rather than going through that slowy period in a way and just wait, right? So think about when there's a plane coming in and it's trying to land in the airport, right? So like they gotta make space for this plane. There's gotta be some kind of preparation happening. Now imagine if it's like super backed up, the airport, and they can't really make up the space. So the plane has to stay in there until something kind of moves to make space for it and it begins to land, right? So it's very similar what happens with this light codes. So if there's already the space so open and you're super duper welcome and you're like, I'm so ready and I super trust this happening, whether my mind understands it or not, I know that in my heart and in my soul, then the light codes go like, whoop, okay, I'm landing, and then the change happens, right? But then if you're like going into your mind like, oh shit, I don't know if I can really handle this, right? I don't know if I can really handle this, or is this really part of my journey, or do I really trust myself, do I trust my intuition, all those kind of doubts, then the plane, like all the preparation in your own airport, if we can call it that, right, begins to kind of like, okay, we can't really make space right now, like, and it's too crowded, and here is the plane like just waiting, okay, just waiting. It's not going to go anywhere, okay, but it's waiting for you to like make that space and have that little thought or that sensation, that feeling like, yes, I'm worthy. Yes, I'm worthy. Maybe I don't get it, but yes, I receive it. And the moment that it begins to make a little space, that it begins to land until it roots into you. And then here comes the integration process of all the cycles coming in, yeah? But it's all about, again, one more time, believing in yourself and trusting that, of course, you can do this. There's a reason why all of us are here in this reality, where we're experiencing many things, where we're like letting go of so many and integrating so many shadow aspects of ourselves, because we do believe within ourselves, we do believe that we can do it. And it's simple as that. The moment that we allow other people to say, like, to put all these doubts into our systems, here's the card, right? Like that you allow illusions from others to come into your system and then just root them into you, just kind of watering them, placing those seeds in you when it really wasn't your own seeds. And if that's the case, it's okay, you can take care of that seed and give it back to that person. So then you can put another new seed within yourself and just give it birth and give it life and give it water and let it grow within your system. So again, this card of the collective of this week, it's not something that is punishing you, but it's just to be mindful of the excess that is happening within your life. Because like first and foremost, it's about your life, the excess that is happening in your life, and how can you put that into balance? Because the more that you are into balance, within your being, I love you, sister. The more that you can just, when you fluctuate from side to side, you just know how to come back into the balance state. And there's not about pointing fingers at anybody else, because you take care of your own bubble. That you know how to react and work within your own system so that you're not overreacting with others, including yourself. And that you're not projecting onto others, because you know how your bubble feels like, And so it's really important. It's really important to feel your energetic body and know how that feels like. If you have no idea how that feels like, whenever you're alone, just tap into your own sensations, okay? Into your own sensations around your body and within your body. That's just like a little exercise that you can begin to do if you haven't really practiced anything like that, because it's so important to know that. And also knowing how you feel like when you're alone and when somebody else comes in the picture, right? Because then if you're really close, like even talking, right, then your auras mix, and then you might feel, especially if you're very sensitive, most of us are very sensitive, like feel the energies of the other person, and even sometimes the thoughts, and believing that they're their own thoughts. It's kind of tricky, but it's pretty cool at times. So maneuvering through that, it's part of this experience. And there's a reason, again, what you came here to do, okay? So as we're still feeling, this amazing energies of the eclipse, the full moon, the energies of Scorpio, oh my gosh, just beginning to be curious Be curious of your own dark spots. And rather than shying away from that, embrace them, because there's so much power in those energies. There's a gift for you, which is you, of course, but it's not about just receiving the gifts, right? It's about the process of getting into the gift and opening up the gift and knowing there was nothing to fear. So this is all about, again, anything that is blocking you right now is because of fear. And because your own abilities or your own condition of not believing that you can really do this, And honestly, we're all going through a massive transition, I love you, sister. And so here it is, It's your time to shine. It's your time to shine. It's our time to shine. Your time is my time. My time is your time. And it's time to just do this, right? Letting go, going away from just fear makes me feel like this, and then I just block everything in my system and not receive, to just surrender and flow with this. There's just so much beauty happening. And honestly, I was just in such a bliss mode from the clips yesterday when I was watching it with my puppy outside to this morning. And of course it doesn't mean that life is not throwing shifts at me, it's throwing out massive shifts, but it's the point in awareness, knowing that yes, this is meant to happen, yes, I have chosen this, and yes, of course I can do it because I chose it to, and of course I'm guided, I'm guided by all our ancestors, by the earth, by my guides, and can absolutely do this. The same with you, it's not that you're alone. It's not that you're alone. There's so much guidance around you and with all these energies too, And when you surrender to that, then you can open up even more, And at times people are like, what do you mean by surrender? Just trust. Just go with it, If the mind is so activated with all the fear, then really question the fear. Why am I always fearful? Why have I always been fearful? Is it you that you have chosen to be fearful, consciously? Or is it something that was attached to your lineage that are just super fearful or whatever it is that it is, And so if that is the case, then maybe, you were born into that energy of fear. But what if that's actually what you don't want to do? Then so when you face a fear and you realize, oh, that wasn't really that scary. Yeah, because something else was alive within you. Something else came back to life. And so that's the point, Fear is just a beautiful illusion, but at the same time, it's a gift, it's a gift of yourself that comes back into you over and over and over again. And the more that we open up these beautiful gifts, the more that you go back into your neutrality, into your balance point. And again, it's not as easy to go this way, right? You might go just a little bit this way and a little bit this way, but then you know exactly how to come back into the centerness. So yeah, I really hope this helps so much. And the energies of the full moon, of course, are still happening. So take care of yourself and do something beautiful for you, whether it's going to nature, making some cacao. I'm hosting a cacao ceremony online. If you are interested in that, it's $33, and we start at 6 p.m. Central Time, the US. And if that is not for you, do something to celebrate you. How many times have you celebrated you in the past week? Literally, this is a really good question. How many times have you celebrated yourself in the past week, in the past month? And if you can't even think about one moment, take the moment today to celebrate yourself, whatever it is, Maybe you have a tiny little piece of chocolate and that's celebration for you. Or maybe you go out for a walk. Or maybe you just watch something that is really funny and cry, laughing hysterically, So whatever it is that how you celebrate yourself, just take the time to do so. Take the time to do so. For me, full moons are also just a time of celebration. The time of connectivity even more because the veils are so thin. And the time of accepting more the gifts of my ancestors and my own gifts, and letting go again of those fears and seeing them as empowerment. Empowerment for you, empowerment for us. Because when you empower yourself, you empower all of us. When I empower myself, I empower all of us. There's no separation. You might see me as like a different, physical body, and that's okay, because we're meant to see that, but that's the illusion, that's the beautiful illusion, that behind what you see, it's you. Behind what you see, it's you. The same thing with me. The same thing with me. So as we continue to grow, as we continue to expand, go back into that, having compassion with everybody, having compassion for everybody and with you. Yes, the source is within. Yeah, for sure. And remember that, in my shirt it says ahimsa, compassion for all living things, but at the same time with you, with you, remembering that you are that power, and you have the power within you. And going back again towards this card, about the devil, right? Like, where are you in excess that is throwing you completely out of balance in your life? And being honest, part of ahimsa is to be honest with yourself, of what you're doing with yourself. If you cannot be honest with yourself, and you're just in that illusion because it's so simple, then question, why are you in those chains of that illusion? Is it just your belief system, or what you thought it was believed in you, that you couldn't break off that fear? But again, when you see fear from a different access point of empowerment, then it's just it's not so like this. It's like, okay, empowerment, empowering yourself. Holy smokes, even just by saying that, it's like, ooh, empowerment. And that is a celebration. Empowering yourself even more every day, even when you think life is just throwing things at you like crazy. Well, it's throwing you gifts. It's not throwing you rocks. It's throwing you gifts, right? So change the vision, change your glasses, put your superhuman vision on, so then you can see those beautiful gifts that life is giving you. It's not throwing you, it's giving you, just like the mother, right? Mother Earth, with all the gifts that she gives us, right? With all those beautiful flowers and these beautiful trees and everything, she's given and given and given and given. So it's that representation, it's the exact same thing of things that happen in your life. Life is giving you. Life is giving you, is gifting you parts of yourself back to you, right? At times we need that outside mirror in order to see it. If we're not used to sitting with ourselves and just looking inside, then look outside, because outside is a powerful mirror of what's happening inside, which means, if life is giving you and gifting you all these things inside of you, you're doing exactly the same thing. You're gifting yourself so much love and so much compassion and so much guidance and all these beautiful things, right? But if you're like this in the go, or you're just so in this kind of what this card is saying, right? That it's just too much and you freeze. How can you see that if you freeze? Because there's, again, you're seeing with the illusion eyes rather than the eyes of love. When you see with the eyes of love, you understand you're not the victim. And not just understanding, but you're not the victim. You're not the victim, but you're the hero of the story. Every single one of us, we're the hero of the story. You're the hero of your own story, which makes you the hero of our story. Because again, we're not different. So moving away from that condition of it's just the self, it's just you, it's us. It's not just you, it's us. Whenever I empower myself, again, you empower yourself. Whenever you empower yourself, I empower myself. Whenever you harm yourself, we are harming ourselves. So when we begin to shift that it's not just I, it's us, it's all, then things shift so much quicker within ourselves, because we understand and we know, we have the sensation. What happens in the world that harms the earth is happening also inside of us. And this is one of the beautiful things that the Conversations with God, the first book, says, yes, the one, yes, the one. And so here, here's that really big opportunity for all of us to go back into us. So then we can support each other. So then we can continue to rise together, remembering, who we are, what we are, and what we came here to do. which I definitely believe that we all came here to be happy, but also to remember that we are it, that we are it. That you're not just a human that is going through all this massive shifts and whatever it is that's happening. You are this great being that is remembering itself through this human experience. And when we begin to see that with eyes of gratitude and we love, things shift like this in the most beautiful and powerful way. I can add magical into it too. So enjoy this week, enjoy your life as a whole, and know that you are a miracle. Know that you are a miracle, okay? Whenever something is happening in your life, remember the sticky note is happening for you, and it's all designed by you. The greater cosmos is you. Everything is you, everything is us. Whenever we remember that, so we can really relax a little bit into the change rather than fighting it, okay? And again, one more time, the card for the collective, the devil, okay? Where are you in excess? What are you that's harming yourself? And are you just so used to being in that space because you're afraid of getting out of the space because you're so used to? Something to think about, right? Okay. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Have a beautiful and blessed week, and know that you're so deeply loved. You're so deeply guided. And again, there is definitely nothing wrong with you, but there's so much power coming through right now.